Hello, Internet peoples. My name is Guy Royce. I'm a developer advocate at Redis Labs. And today, we're going to load CSV data containing Bigfoot sightings into Redis. We're going to do this not one way, but two ways. We're going to use RIOT and we're going to use Node.js. So stick around and watch how we do it. With me, Guy Royce.
And in the corner.
Let's go ahead and get to my desktop mode here, and I can show you the two ways of doing this. Here is a nice up and running Redis server. Here is information on RIOT. We're going to do RIOT first, and then here is a little environment for us to work in. We'll take a look at our CSV file first. It's a classic CSV file. It's got columns on the top, headers here. So we got an observed, and we got location details and county, state, title, stuff like that. And then it's got a bunch of CSV values, comma separated values representing this data. And what we're going to do is we're going to take each row of this file, and it's going to correspond to a single key in Redis. And that key is going to have be a hash that contains all of those values. So row 2 here will be a key, and in the observed value of that hash will be ed.l with salmon fishing with the companion, blah, 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 blah. All right. And so we're going to do that. And then when we're done, we'll have a whole bunch of keys full of hashes with all of our Bigfoot data. We can use that later on for other fun projects. So we need to get this into Redis. So let's look at the first way to do that. We're going to do that using RIOT. RIOT is take a look here, is the Redis input-output tool. It's a command line tool. It lets you extract data from Redis and load data into Redis into lots of different formats and from lots of different formats. It's an easy way to get CSV files in here. If we scroll down and look at the commands here, we can see that this is the command for loading a bunch of beer data from a URL into Redis. We don't want to load beer data. We want Bigfoot data. Not that I don't like beer, but I also like Bigfoot. So let's go ahead and just copy pasta that over here. Because I'm lazy and I don't want to type it, and we'll pare it down. Now these settings will work because it's localhost and default, but I'm just going to take those off. And then so it's RIOT file import, and I'll have a link to RIOT file in the description below. So when you go to do this, it'll be easy for you to figure out how to install this. But it's just a little command line tool, and we're going to take this geocoded.csv file. You don't have to tell it it's a CSV. It will figure it out by the extension. And so we're saying it's a geocoded file. It's a CSV file, and it has a header. So use that for your column names. We want to do a HSET or an HMSET in this case. HMSET's really deprecated, but that's what we call it here. This triggers RIOT to say store all the rows in hashes as opposed to like say geosets or something like that. It's going to use a key space for that key name. For each row, we're going to have a key and it needs a key space. We're going to do BFRO sighting. Let's do sightings. And then it needs something to append to that to make that key unique. It's saying use the column ID. This CSV file does not have an ID. It does, however, have a number. And I know the number is unique. It's the number, it's like Bigfoot sighting number 3679. Saw Bigfoot off of State Route 33. It's that sort of number, but it's unique. So we'll use that as our unique key. And this is it. I hit enter. It tears through the file, imports the file, and it should be in Redis. Let's take a look. Let's bring up our Redis CLI. We do a key star. Don't ever do key star in production, kids. It blocks the single thread for all the keys. And if you have a billion, that's a problem. But for what we're doing here, it's fine. It shows 9,172 sightings, which is wrong. I think I might have leftover data from a previous run. Let me go do a flush DB. And then we'll exit out here. We'll run it again real quick. And now we'll go in there and do keys star. Yeah, I know that there are 4,586 Bigfoot sightings. And so I practiced this earlier. Can't you tell? So here we got our sightings. Interesting thing here, there's sightings, colon, and then the number. The number, for whatever reason, has a 0.0 at the end of it. I think this is because the data set was used in machine learning and it was using pandas, and pandas tends to want to spit out numbers with decimal places on them. So that's not ideal, but let's go ahead and take a look at one of these sightings. Say hget all, like that. And we can see here's all our keys and values. Here's our sighting. So someone's taking their dogs on a long walk with their girlfriend, and they're hearing scary whistles and screams. These sightings are just so delightful to read. I can't express how much fun it is to take a look at them. But yeah, there we go. We loaded them in. It's a little funky. It's not perfect. It's not exactly what I want, right? Our keys have, our number there is the ID for the report, and it has a .0 in it. I don't want that. It's got some columns I don't want. This has the weather data mixed in. The idea here was that maybe the weather data might correlate to Bigfoot sightings in some way. Like maybe if it wasn't very visible, you would confuse a bear as Bigfoot. Whereas if it was really clear, then that would be less likely to happen. But I don't care about any of that. I just want to be able to build a little data set in Redis that allows me to search for Bigfoot sightings that are near me. And so I want to filter some of them out. The longitude and latitude here is really nice, but I need to put them together into one column to use Redis search to use them later on. So this is nice and quick and easy, but this CSV file doesn't do quite what I want. And so I'm going to do this the other way. Instead of loading this with RIOT, I'm going to write some code in Node.js to load this for me. So let's do that. So let's flush our database again and make sure that it worked. It did. We have a very empty Redis database. And I'm going to get out of the Redis CLI. So I need to create a simple Node project. And that means I need to use the correct version of Node. I want to use the latest, greatest, and most updated version of Node. So if I do a node-v, I can see I'm using 15.8. That's great. I want to make sure that anyone that's using Node Version Manager always has the latest version. They have the version that I built this with. So you can create a .nvmrc file and put the version number in there, and then you can tell Node Version Manager to use that. So if I say echo 15.8 to .nvmrc, and if I type echo correctly, there we go. And so now this file has the predictable value of 15.8. I can say nvmuse, and it guarantees that I'm using Node 15.8. So if I'm like, say, I'm using Node use default, that changes my Node version to 12.19. If I type Node use, switches it back. So now I have the right version of Node. Now that I have that, let's create a project. Ultimately, this will be the Bigfoot Data Service, where we serve up information about Bigfoot. And so we're going to go ahead and call it that. Version 1 is fine. Description helps us find the Bigfoots. The Bugfoots. The Bugfoots. That's funny. Entry point, we don't care. Test command, we're not going to do any tests for this thing yet. Git repository, I might update that later, but you're going to get this code out of a Git repository, and so you'll kind of know what it is already. Keywords, don't care. Author, that's me. Put in my email address. License, let's do GPL 3.0, so that if you use this code, you have to share it too. That's all good. Now let's take a look at our package JSON. There is Bigfoot service version description main. We don't care about main. We're not building a Node package to be included anywhere or imported anywhere. We don't want a test script, but it generated this one. There's our author or license. I want to do 3 things to modify this file. I want to set the type to module. This will allow me to use ES6 imports instead of commons.js or common.js. And so I just think that's cleaner and nicer. I just want to use that instead. So type equals module, and I want to make sure this is private, just so that we don't accidentally publish it. So that's the second change. And then I want to add a script that will actually run my load code, the load node code. And so we'll say node load.js. Package JSON is ready. let's install some node packages. We're going to use two node packages. We're going to use Redis, and we're going to use CSV parser. Redis is well, it's a Redis client written in TypeScript. We're going to use that. It's the one I like to use. And CSV parser is well, it's exactly what you think it is. It's a CSV parser for Node. So there we go. We've installed both of those things. And now we can start working on this load.js file. So let's go ahead and touch load.js. Bring it up in a text editor here and start importing some stuff. So let's import CSV from CSV parser. Doesn't this, this import look so much nicer than the require? Import Redis from, not reads. I had a nickel for every time I made that typo. From Redis. I know that we're going to need to use the file system as well, because we need to read that file off the file system. And so there's our imports. And so we're going to need to connect to Redis. So the idea is we'll use the CSV parser tool to loop over the CSV data and then add things to Redis. So I know I'm going to need a connection to Redis. So let's go ahead and do that. Let r equal new Redis. I also know that I'm going to be repeatedly adding things, and I don't care about getting a response immediately. And so this is a great candidate for pipelining. So let's go ahead and create a pipeline. Pipeline just allows us to keep feeding commands into Redis without waiting for a response. And since these are a bunch of unique writes, that's a very safe thing to do, especially since we're the only one messing with the database. So we got a pipeline, we've got Redis. Now we can use fs to start reading in our file. So we'll do create read stream and then our file name, which is data/bfro underscore reports underscore geocoded.csv CSV bfro reports geocoded CSV. Yes, I typed that correctly. And so that's going to return a stream. We're going to take that stream, we're going to pipe it into the CSV that we imported. And so what CSV is going to do is it's going to take this file and read the header and then read each row. And it's going to generate an event called data that gets fired for each row in the file, except the header. And it's going to hand out a JavaScript object that contains the classic JavaScript object. It's got the header is used for the property names in that JavaScript object, and then the values are from the rows in the CSV file. So if we do it like this, we can just log everything before we pipeline anything at all. CSV will also emit an event called end, which tells us that we're out of data, that we're done with data. And here I would execute our pipeline. I haven't really done anything yet, but once the pipeline does something, we'll execute it, and then we can disconnect from Redis. So this, as it is, should run just to kind of show us that we're not insane, to make sure that this is actually working. So npm run load, and it should just start spitting out JSON objects with all the entries in our data file. And that is indeed what we see. We don't need to wait for that to finish. But if we look here, here's all those columns that were in that file. So here's the observed, location details, the county, the state. Monroe County, Ohio. I've been there before. Latitude and longitude. So this is all of our data. So cool, it's working. It's reading the file, it's spitting out results. However, we don't want to console log these. We want to actually shove them into Redis so that we can do things with them later. So if we want to just shove these straight into Redis unmolested, we can simply say, well, we need to generate a key, and we need to then call hset. So let's say let key equal sighting. We need to key space it, right? And prefix that with an ID. That would be data.number. And then we can say r.hset key, comma, data. Save that and run. That runs a lot faster because it doesn't have all this IO, console IO to do. and we look in Redis CLI and we look in our keys and we should see 4,586 entries. Sure enough, here we go. We copy one of those and say hget all. We can see that we've loaded all that stuff into Redis from Node, which is pretty cool. But now that we're in Node, we can actually start doing the transformations we want. And so the first transformation I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce some of our fields. So I'm going to use destructuring for that. So we say what number. I want the number. I want the title of the Bigfoot sighting. I want the date that it occurred on. I want the observed. That's the best part. It's the story. The classification. Bigfoot sightings have 3 classifications. Class A, I saw Bigfoot. Class B, I found evidence of Bigfoot. And Class C, someone told me they saw Bigfoot. Class C is my favorite. It's certainly the most believable. So we got our classification. We want our county. We want our state. We want our latitude. We want our longitude. And we want our location details. Make sure I didn't make any typos in spelling all those. Those all look pretty good. Sure, if I made a typo, you are seeing it and I will see it later. And we'll just assign that from data. So this will take all the values in data that match these keys and set them to those variables. And now we don't need to say data.number. We can say number here. And we can pass in a new object. Let's say let values equal all those things. There we go. And now if we run this, what will happen is, pass some values here, we'll get just those columns. So we've basically just pulled out the columns we care about, assigned them the local variables, and then created a new object with those same columns. That's not the fullness of everything we want to do, right? We want to transform some of these. So let's do that. Let's transform first the ID, the number. Right now, the ID it's right here, right? 29441.0. I don't want that 0.0. So we're going to call parse int and pass a number to get rid of it. So now we have an ID. We can pass in ID instead of number. And our key can be based off of ID. That's an improvement. Another thing that it does is the county has the word county after it every single time. So if we look here and we see, if I can find the county here, Gila County. I guess that's Gila County. We just want Gila. County's redundant. We don't need that data. So let's go ahead and say let county. Now we can't use let there, so we'll just say county equals. Let's move that up. County equals county.replace. And we'll just do a little regex, look for the word county. Ends with the word county. Let's be very, very explicit here. Replace that with empty string. So now county won't have that annoying problem anymore. And the other thing that we want to do is we want to take the latitude and longitude and we want to coalesce them or collapse them into a single value in a way that Redis will like. So we'll say let location. And Redis likes the latitude and longitude to be, well, not latitude and longitude, but longitude and latitude. So for our Redis search to do geo search from values in a hash, we have to put it in longitude, latitude order and have it separated by a comma. So longitude and latitude, and that's our location. However, we probably should be a little more clever here because longitude and latitude might be empty strings. So let's say if longitude and latitude, so if they both have values that are, if they're both truthy, then you can say let's use a ternary. That'd be great. Longitude and latitude, colon, question mark. If we have longitude and latitude, do this. Otherwise, do this. So there's our ID, our county, our location. This should be all the transforms we need. Pass an ID, title, date, observed, classification, county, state. location and location details. It's bugging me slightly that this is not a let as well. So I'll say let county short. County name. There we go. That's we'll call it county name. And then we'll pass that into here. But we still want to put it in the county field, so we'll do it like that. We could actually just inline that, but who wants to inline it? Come on, man. Cool. So pulling out our data, parsing the integer. We're swapping out the county name to be a little shorter. We're collapsing our location, missing an equal sign there. There's our key. There's our values. And then we call hset. And that should give us a beautiful transformation and load it in Redis. Let's try it out. Exit out of Redis CLI here. That's not how we exit out of Redis CLI. Here we'll exit out of Redis CLI. And then, actually, let's go back in here real quick and do db, or flush db, just so that we have just the bits we care about. Make sure that there's nothing in there. Exit out. npm run load. There we go. It runs. Go back into the CLI. Look at our keys. Again, don't do that in production. And if we do hget all citing, let's go with 7940. So one of the things you notice here is that our ID doesn't have that 0 on it. It's a lot shorter now. Here's our ID. Here's our title. Here's our observed. State is Ohio, Lawrence County, Ohio, in 1980. There's our location, longitude, and then latitude. Classification is Class A, and here's details. Off County Road 22, Lawrence Street Road, right near Private Drive 2050. So cool. I'm tempted to write a little regex to get rid of that report 7940 because I feel like that's redundant. So let's go ahead and do that too. Let's go ahead and say let title equal title dot replace, and we'll look for anything that starts with report space, and then we want digits. Is it slash? I'm being very brave here by doing regexes on the fly. Let's do report space dot star colon space slash. That should match the beginning here. I can't remember what the symbol is for. Is it .d? I can't remember. I think it's slash d. So we'll do slash d star. We'll see if that works. We'll see if I can do regexes here on the fly or not. Oops, I did the exit in the wrong place again. We'll let title better. And then we'll replace title with title better here. I think I'm going to do this. My adherence, my strong desire to have the lets line up is just not worth it here. So let's do that. Exit. Actually, we need to say flush db. Now let's run that. And then we'll run Redis CLI. Let's just do keys star. Oh, wait, key star won't work because it's trying to wildcard. Let's just go key star. There we go. That looks better. We'll say hget all. And we'll just grab the last one there. State, county, undefined, because I forgot to do this. I replaced it with a missing argument, and so it put undefined in there. Let's try this again. Flush db, load. Go ahead and get that sighting. There we go. Nighttime sighting by truck driver near Red Top Mountain. ID is 19421. Title is what I just read. Here's our observed. It's in Georgia and Bartow County. Here's the date. So cool. That worked. So that's the other way. So just to sort of sum up, if you want to get CSV data into Redis and your CSV is well formatted and well behaved and in a nice friendly format, use RIOT. If, however, you have CSV data that is not exactly what you want it to be and you want to parse it and stuff, this is a way you can do it. Obviously, you could do this in other languages as well. I'm using Node because I like Node. So thanks a lot for hanging out and watching me fumble through some of this code here. My name is Guy Royce, and I'm just a head in the corner, but I'm here to help. So if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up on social media. My Twitter ID is @GuyRoyce. And honestly, you can just type Guy Royce into Google and you'll find me. So thanks a lot and have a great one.